We're going to dive into an awesome deal today with Judy, and then you guys can ask a boatload of questions too. That's why we're here. So that way we can dive through the deal and you guys can ask through the questions. Is everybody all signed up for December 8th event? It's going to be an incredible Kickstarter. We just went through the entire agenda. I'll go through the agenda at the end because we're going to have an amazing day. Has anybody also seen that huge lawsuit that just happened with National Association of Realtors? Oh, it's a class action lawsuit against the Association of Realtors.
For what?
We're going to start doing inside our community. We're going to start doing a maybe every other week instead of our Monday rants, like a market update and like hit some major articles of stuff that's happening in real estate. But basically, the National Association of Realtors just lost a $1.8 billion lawsuit, and they're now sanctioned to like pay back a bunch of people. They're associating that class action lawsuit. Basically, they're stating that buyers agents were kind of just being like guardians of the gate, because you can almost access every piece of information that you need to know about a property online now. I'm definitely shortening the court case. But basically now the seller is no longer obligated to pay the buyer agent commissions. So that's going to be interesting. I'll go through a couple bullet points on how that's going to affect us, inside our community, but it's positive, very positive things when it comes to these scenarios, because there's already a drying up buyer pool, right, of increased interest rates, and now buyer representation is not going to be there. With many other things. So huge opportunity here in the creative financing space.
And that's
also,
my
mom told me this. I don't know. Does anybody watch Selling Sunset? Anybody watch that show on Netflix? It's like a real estate agents. There's just two brothers, the Oppenheim group. But apparently they only deal with like the millions upon millions of dollars. And apparently they were talking about rent to own and how that's like becoming popular, because people are not able to get access to interest rates, or choosing not to get access to interest rates at the high multi-million dollar properties. So a huge opportunity for us there. So those of you that are in the like Los Angeles or Southern Florida or like these high-end areas, know that those top agents are all talking about rent to own right now and how to be able to structure better deals. There's also this crazy income tax that's starting to happen now, where if you sell, like, this is for the ultra high-end properties, I'm probably butchering the numbers, but there's going to be an increased tax upon houses that are over 5 million. I think it's like 4%. They're called mansion taxes. And now there's going to be another one, I think it's over 20 million. Then there's like, it's like 5 or 6%. These mansion taxes. Now there's ways in order to combat that with owner financing, right? Because if these properties have more debt-free, these are considered loans. So this isn't what we're going to hear. This is what we're talking about here today. But I just want to let you know there's a lot of things happening in the retail space, why you should be getting involved in the creative financing space. Because whether you're buying a house at $100,000 or $25 million, all of these rules still apply. And what we're going to start to see is that they're going to apply even more and more, especially if interest rates stay there or go higher, which is always going to be interesting. So if you don't already have your ticket to the Kickstart, which is on December 8th, I encourage you to be there. It's like $100 or less. I think we've done a bunch of discounted versions of it too. You're going to want to be there because we're going to go over like what's working now, what you should be able to expect in 2024. Definitely be there. Pete, if you could just toss that in the chat, let's make sure everyone goes. And also, if you're an associate or Jumpstart, you get free ticket. So know that you're already there. Okay. Let's welcome Judy. Judy, for those that don't know you, I don't know how they could not know you, but for those that don't know you, Judy, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are, where you're located, what you do for a living, and then we'll dive into the deal here in just a minute.
Okay, sure. So my name is Judy Richard. I'm based out of Portland, Maine. I joined the community February 1st. I did the 90-day Jumpstart program, and then I went to the summit in March and joined High Six. And then this past fall at the QLS, I ended up joining the Chairman's Club with the community. I am more than full-time employed in a very busy W-2 in the pharmaceutical industry, 25 years. I have golden handcuffs that I am trying to break free from by doing real estate investing. I do have a background in real estate prior to my pharmaceutical career. I used to be a broker. I started out doing real estate closings for a large developer in Southern Maine. And then I worked for a real estate pre-foreclosure auction company. And this was all back in like the late 80s to probably mid 90s.
Got it. I didn't know that. So I'm glad that we had you on here. That's good.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you did all that good stuff. I just knew that you were big time in like the pharmaceutical world.
So that's been my 25-year like career W-2, regular income, good benefits and stuff like that. So
awesome. And if you want me to ask you, where did you originally find us?
So actually, I joined the Women's Real Estate Investors Network and was going through some of their training, and I felt like it was really scattered for me, as busy as I was with my W-2. And then through them, I joined Anderson Business Advisors, and I saw you, Zach, last December on something that Anderson had for their membership, their community. And I really liked it because it was creative financing. My dad was a developer and he had done some deals that way. So it kind of really piqued my interest. And you and I had a couple of conversations, and I was signed up probably like mid to late January and jumped in the February 1st class with Russell.
Oh, that's awesome. So your dad was the man. He was a developer, hockey coach for like 30-some years. You got the coolest dad. I love it. Okay, awesome. Okay, so then I'm just curious, like why did you decide? I mean, you did a bunch of real estate for many years in the 80s. Then you went, let's say, pharmaceuticals for many years. Like then you saw an event, but like what made the timing now for you to get back into real estate?
So I've always had a passion for it. I'm on a lot of multiple listing lists with realtors in different areas. I've actually done some really good deals myself in my lifetime with real estate. When I was working in real estate, you didn't have like the regular income, it's commission only, that type of stuff. And so for me to be able to make up some time with like 401k and, things like that, I basically was able to do some really good deals in real estate. My first property I bought was a pre-foreclosure. I was working for the real estate auction company. There were a couple of guys that had the property under contract, and the banker called me, somebody I'd done business with, and said, hey, these guys want out of the contract because there's a cloud on the title and we can't clean it up that fast. Do you know anybody that wants it? So I actually went and took a look at it myself and thought, why can't I have this house? And, I was in my 20s then. And so I ended up taking a look at it, brought my dad, brought my brother-in-law, who's a contractor, brought a friend of mine that was in the mortgage business. We all went, looked at the house, and they said, no, you absolutely can do this. Now, I actually bought that house with creative financing. I didn't even know it was creative at the time. I was just doing anything I could to buy a house.
I love it.
Yeah. So I ended up basically, so I went and borrowed money from people that I knew that had money, paid them more than what they were getting at the bank. And then I ended up, after that, closing on it in my father's name with that money, borrowed enough money to do renovations because it was a mess. It was more than a handyman special. They had pretty much stripped it, got a couple of contractors. And the day that I actually closed in my name, I had $25,000 in equity. And I paid everybody back that I had borrowed the money from.
Love it. Love it. Look at you, Judy. You were doing creative financing before you even knew it. I love it. Judy, you said that you were part of a different community before. What's the difference between that one and the one and obviously Smart Real Estate Coach? Then we'll dive into the deal.
So this one is definitely a lot more focused and a lot more hands-on. Whereas the other one, it was kind of general knowledge. So yeah, they were talking about sub-two deals and things like that, but there really wasn't any coaching. You didn't have all the forms and you didn't have everything that you need to actually get deals done. And for me, with as busy as I am with my W-2, I just felt like I had shiny object syndrome. Do I want to go after rentals? Do I want to go after Airbnb? Do I want to do flips? And I mean, I didn't have the time to do flips. So there were all these different options, that were out there. I felt like shiny object syndrome where I couldn't really focus on anything. And I started like downloading lists, scrubbing lists from PropStream and started doing like some of the marketing. And I was like, I don't even know what to do with half these people. And I didn't have the time to like really run around and look for the motivated sellers. Like this, I feel is like a lot more focused.
Got it. No, it makes total sense. Okay. Love it. Steve, welcome. I'm glad you made it with us.
Hey guys.
Very good. I wanted to make sure we had some coaches on here just in case I want to do a cough fit. All right. So tell me about I always like to share people. I want everyone to see the properties that we're buying, right? So tell us where you found this seller. Then we'll actually work into the deal structure itself, but where you found the seller, motivation, and let's keep rolling from there.
Yeah, so this was a lead from My Plus Leads on the expired list. It was back in March, at late March. I saw it come up and I called him in April. And it was a divorce situation, and the ex-wife was living in the house. And he was trying to sell it, conventionally, trying to get his money. So then what ended up happening was I saw the status change. And I called him and he said that it was under contract. So I was like, okay, hopefully we can close. You close on it and stuff like that. And then, I'll follow up with you just to make sure. Well, I saw this. I called him another time, and it was the same thing. The first contract fell through, and then it was the second one. And this property is in a coastal community in Maine. It is like a stone's throw from the water. This shot right here, if you look like off to the left, there's a little bit of a clearing, and the ocean is back there. So there's not really an ocean view, but it's really a stone's throw away. This is like within walking distance and stuff. So it's really a cute little area that it's in. However, I just stayed in touch with the seller, and then I saw the listing change again. I thought, oh, the status changed, it's closed. So I just kind of put it aside. And then I was doing follow-up calls one day and it came up and I almost didn't call him. I'm like, that's closed, but I did. And I said, so it looks like you sold your property. And he was like, heck no, I didn't. I'm like, what do you mean? What's going on? And he said the ex-wife has made it really difficult for the realtors. I'm having trouble getting people in there. She's going to be getting out, so on and so forth. So I was like, oh, well, and we had been talking for quite some time. So, we kind of had a little bit of a rapport. So I ended up grabbing Steve and saying, hey, Steve, can you help me on this call with the seller? I think that I had posted it and said, I think that this is going to be a sub-two and a few things like that. And Brian had said, definite sub-two, and had given me a little bit of feedback. I went back to the seller, and then it was basically time for me to go take a look at the property and get the coaches involved. So I called Steve, and I think I saw him on the call. I don't see him right now, but so Steve got on the call with the seller, with me, and basically explained to the seller. So the seller wanted equity. So right before QLS in early September, we had a three-way call, and Steve basically said to the guy, well, you know what? You're not going to get any equity with us. So if you want equity, you probably want to try again with a realtor. And the guy did, and it wasn't working out. It's also a pre-foreclosure. So now the guy is really in trouble. The ex-wife, when she stayed in the house, she was supposed to be paying the mortgage. 2 months in, she stopped. So he's about $16,000 in arrears on the house, and they're calling him. Steve, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, and you kind of alluded to it, Judy, but when we had talked to him, by the way, super friendly guy. He was very open to suggestions. He just wants to he needed help, and he was in a scenario that he couldn't figure out his way. And what we made sure that we did, just to reiterate again, is based on what he wanted to happen out of this and what was realistic. Those are two very different things. I knew, and me and Judy knew, that he was very close to the pain threshold to work with us. But I let him know. I said, hey, listen, here's the situation. It sounds like right now you want to make some money on this outside of obviously pay all this back. I completely get it. If we were to work together, that's not how it would work. It would work like this. And we explained it. We'd buy it for the balance of the loan. We'd catch you up. It wouldn't be any equity, but we'd cash you out sometime in the future. So it sounds like, though, based on what you're saying would be best for you, and I agree with you, you should probably go with this real estate agent that can go ahead and make you some money so you can, be done with this now and make some money. But if for whatever reason that does not happen, please give us a call back. I know we can help. So being the fact that we had that conversation of, you have to do what you feel is best for you now. And based on what we just talked about, it sounded like our option isn't your preferred one. And that's completely okay. We're just here to help. And if we were to help, this is what it looked like. So we seeded in exactly the way that would work. So if things didn't work out with this realtor, when he came back, we would be able to get moving. And that's what ended up inevitably happening.
Awesome. So what you're saying is you were trying to co-create a plan with the seller. You were trying to figure out what the best option was for them, whether it was you or not, right? Bringing value to the table, saying, here, I'm going to advise you on your next steps. If you want X, you should go with Y. And if for some reason your plan B does not work, or your plan A does not work, come back, let's have a plan B conversation. Judy, what was the timeline again? You made your first call, you get a hold of the seller, and when did you actually get this property in agreement?
I made my first call to him in April, and I got the taken in mid-October.
Like 6 months.
Yeah.
Like 6 months. Super important. I want you guys to hear that, because when you first get started in real estate investing, right? Or if you're just starting to build out your funnel, it's going to take time in order to fill that funnel, utilize your follow-up system, and then be able to pounce on an opportunity. Well, amazing part about being with the community, right? Judy is ready now for the opportunity. She's been working the systems, been working her tail off, getting her better as a script, working on deals. Then when the opportunity strikes, she brings in her third party, Steve, and says, hey, Steve, let's try to make this thing work. Steve gets to step in with an authority position at this time, right? Eventually, Judy, maybe she'll be stepping in for somebody else in the future, right? As a third party. And then now they're able to co-create a plan, get the seller to what he's looking for on this deal. But if I can remember, there was a couple of nuances though too, right? Was he behind on payments or something like that too? Because we'll show the deal structure here in just a second.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. So he was behind about 16,000 as of mid-October. And having the mortgage company starting to call him, had a couple of deals and they fell through. There is a septic that is basically at the end of its life. The plumbing is functioning. However, the septic inspection said that it's going to need a new septic sooner than later.
Got it. Okay. But we're going to buy this on a sub too. So there's going to be a couple different ways in order for us to work through the septic if we don't want to fix it right away either. We could talk about that here in a second. Okay. Awesome. Any questions for Judy before we jump into the deal structure? If you want, type in the chat or raise your hand. Happy to do that too. This is an open dialogue.
Yeah, I just throw it too, just from my own house, that I had a cesspool on mine, which you can't even get financing for them. Just took the thing under contract, we sold it, and the people fixed it before they bought it because they had to. So just don't let those things scare you away. There's the right person is waiting for an opportunity to buy your houses. You don't have to do work to these homes.
Yeah, we did another one in Central Massachusetts, same thing. Look who decided to show up, Mr. Adam Steen.
I just wanted to make an observation, Zach, that I noticed Judy couldn't create motivation in this guy. The motivation had to come from external sources. So no matter how much she was wanting to help, she couldn't control his circumstances, and you have to be patient, and that's hard for us, especially me.
Sure. Great point.
Waiting, patience is tough. It is tough for adults. It's tough for children. It's tough for everyone. But we always talk about this in the community. You work on other people's timelines. You don't work on yours. That's why follow-up is so important to be consistent there, because these touch bases that you do isn't necessarily to close the deal. It's to catch what the current temperature is. Has the urgency changed? Is there a way that I can help you now in comparison to what you're doing? And that's what Judy did. She just kept on touching base over 180 days until he got to a point where he realized his reality of these things that he thought were potential. There was still a way for him to have equity and this work out. He had to go through all the stages of realizing his current situation, but at least he knew if he was going to go this route, he had the expectation going forward, so that when he was ready, it was pretty quick. I mean, I feel like it was a few days after Judy had that last conversation with myself, that we got it under contract.
I love it. Awesome. John.
I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask anyways. Judy, did you need to talk to the bank with this seller in order to decide whether or not you were going to take this deal?
So we did not talk to the bank together. What we did is I asked him to get like his most recent paperwork from the bank, like to pay it off. And then we have that. And that's
Okay.
kind of what we worked off of.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
The reinstatement letter, right? Judy, is that what you're referring to?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if she needed to, right, she could have got a power of attorney or authorization to release, jumped on the phone with the seller. Like if the seller wasn't really clear about how much he owed or anything like that, we could hop on the phone and just get confirmation with the bank, which I still would recommend too, because I know we put this under agreement because this is contingent upon finding a third-party buyer too, correct?
It is.
Yeah, so I would say once she has a buyer in hand, you may want to make the phone call to the bank just to confirm, hey, if I catch up this payment, we're all set. There's no, we're not going to have to continue to deal with a foreclosure or pre-foreclosure process, just to get confirmation, make me feel better if I was going to give away $17,000.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's dive in the deal. And I know we got tons of new people on here. I see lots and lots of new faces. So just so we don't take up a ton of time here, Judy's one of our associates. She's one of the people that we buy and sell real estate with. So, and that's what she heard, or you heard her say. She brought in the coach, and we do deals together. So if you have any interest in working with us and us helping you do deals inside your local market or virtually, Pete, if you could just throw up an advisory link. You can go ahead and grab an advisory call with one of our specialists to walk you through the different ways in which we work together or could work together if you want to really dive into these deals. Because as soon as I show you this deal, I mean, my guess is you're going to say, yes, I want to figure out how to do more of these deals. So let's jump in. Pete, if you wouldn't mind tossing that link in the chat, go ahead and grab an advisory call. Here you go. So this is Judy. This is her deal. Beautiful Maine, vacation land, right?
That's
It's an
right.
expired listing. Type of deal is a sub 2. Walk us through, Steve and Judy. Walk us through this deal and the paydays, and then I'll intersperse just because a lot of new faces, just to make sure that we know where these deals are coming from.
Okay. So basically, there was not going to be any equity for the seller because I assume that probably about the time that we were to close this, there would be about $20,000 in debt. Steve and I spoke to the seller and told him that we were taking over the loan and that it would remain in his name. So there really is no end date on it. And he basically said, oh, I don't remember that from our call, but yeah, okay, get this monkey off my back, basically. So the price that we have it under contract for is $379.9. The price that we're marketing it at is $379.9. And then we're going to basically pay what he owes and the reinstatement. So that his principal was about $335, and I'm assuming that there's going to be about $20,000 in debt by the time that we close. So that's about $355.
Got it. So let me just take a pause and recap. So Judy goes ahead, she buys this property subject to the existing loan. So what that means is, especially if this is the first time you've heard, what that means is Judy's going to go ahead and close on the property. Title's going to transfer to her company, but mortgage will remain attached to the seller's credit. And then Judy's going to be paying the property or the seller's mortgage for him. But she's the one that's going to be getting all the benefits associated with paying that loan. Okay, and then once she has a buyer in hand, so she basically bought for $355, selling it for $379.9. Once she has a buyer in hand, she's going to go ahead and close on it, but she's going to have some capital in her pocket as well. This is currently being marketed, so this is projected. These are all projected numbers. So these could be way better, right? Because she's only doing projections on 48 months, or they could be equal to, or maybe slightly less. But I want you to see how this deal is going to come together. Okay, so we sold it for $379.9. You're currently working with Nick right now, I'm assuming, on this, right?
Yes, very closely with Nick.
All right, so Nick, maybe you and Judy can, you guys can talk about, hey kids, you guys can talk about.
Yeah, we can talk about it, Zach.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, my son just ran in here. So as you
Yeah,
can see,
I figured that was the case.
try
We
to
can talk
manage it.
about it.
Talk about how you guys arrived at the price and monthly payment.
So the purchase price, and Judy, feel free to jump in at any time if you remember it differently. But I remember when we first looked at these numbers, we determined that we couldn't go like 100% at the top end of the range and then round up from there. We had to make sure we left enough room in there for a buyer to come in, do the work, because doing a new septic, that's like 10 or 20,000 minimum. We needed to leave enough room for them to come in, do the improvements, the repairs, and be able to walk into equity. So we couldn't inflate it too much. If this didn't need a septic, we might have got away with $399.9. However, that's why we chose to go at $379.9. Judy, do you remember it differently, or is that pretty spot
That's
on?
accurate. That's it, spot on, Nick.
Okay. So where we can afford to be picky here, I know the seller is waiting for us to be able to get a buyer to move on with this property, but where his urgency is not our urgency. So we can be careful. And this is a conversation that I've had with Judy. She said, well, this person only has this amount of money and we couldn't do this. And I said, Judy, we don't have to, even though you have a seller calling you every day, wondering if we're going to be doing a deal, we don't have to accept a buyer that's less than ideal. Less than ideal in this case would be a buyer, for those of you that haven't seen any of our material before, working with the buyers. Less than ideal would be less than 3% down, and meaning they make less than 3 times the monthly cost of the home. That would be ideal. Those are our key metrics that we want to make sure our buyers have. As long as they have those two things, we can always work a plan with them to be successful in our rent-to-own program. It's when we go accepting buyers that have less than 3% down or make less than 3 times what the monthly cost of the home is that we get into trouble. So I've cautioned Judy on a few next step forms that she sent to me, whereas I've said that we want to make sure we're not accepting a sub optimal buyer, like less than our minimum standards, because when they get in the home, there's no guarantee that they're going to. Everyone promises that, oh no, I'll get up to 3% in a couple months, or once I move in, but you get in trouble, and we have gotten in trouble. This has happened to us before when we've accepted buyers that have always said, oh yeah, I can come in with just a little bit, but then in a few months I'll get to the 3%. We've every single time got burned. So in that case, if we accepted a suboptimal buyer, the deal would then be, it would fall on our lap, and we'd be responsible for getting the property back, having those costs associated with it. So it's better off just to wait for the perfect buyer. Will they come? Is it a guarantee? They're probably going to come, but it's not a guarantee. But Judy's in a great position here where she did this deal contingent on a buyer. So we're not about to get into a bad deal with someone that is less than our minimum standards.
I want you guys to hear that. So Judy gets a deal. She calls Steve. Steve helps her close the deal. Then she calls Nick and says, "Hey, Nick, can you help me sell this property?" So she's getting constant advising from every single person in order to ensure that she has an awesome deal. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Nick. Thank you for saving me. So I bring
I
everyone
knew
on.
when you were silent and you said, "Hey, kids," I knew something. Yeah, you're good.
What a good uncle, right? What a good uncle and a good brother-in-law. All right, let's keep rolling. Then I'm going to open up for questions. So projected numbers then. So the monthly payment, I'm assuming that's his mortgage payment, the 1460.
Mhm.
Okay. And we're expecting to get 1775. Is that including taxes or before taxes?
That's before taxes. However, we are going to drop that to 1650.
Okay. All right. So our projected numbers in cash flow, I think you did on 36 and 48 months, assuming.
Well, wait a minute, Judy, you should have already done that, right?
Oh no.
Well, I didn't have time
No,
to
no.
update this form, Nick.
Okay. Oh, no,
right,
not
fair
update
enough.
this form, but actually you did it, right? You did the adjustment?
It will be in there tonight.
You guys are hearing live coaching right now. Nick is very, maybe we'll take another Wicked Smart sit down to go through this. But Nick has a very particular process that he walks through in order to get the best buyer in. And there is a payment structure that he structures over time. So 1775. So our projected numbers are anywhere between 11,000 in cash flow to 15,000 in cash flow, assuming Judy doesn't decide to do like a wrap mortgage later and blows this thing up for 30 years, right? Because there's an opportunity there. This doesn't just have to be a 36-month or 48-month lease option, but Judy can actually restructure this, create a new mortgage that services the original mortgage and sell it to an end buyer for a long period of time. Or what Nick always likes to do, which is like, all right, place a good buyer in there and then just don't push them. And if they last 6 months or 6 years or 7 years, whatever, as long as they're in a good position, they're keeping up the property. So lots of opportunity there. Okay. Nick already explained why we marked up the property 24.9, so we won't hit that. Principal pay down on this. Do you know, Judy, tell me how you arrived at the 36 and the 48 months. Maybe give us a monthly breakdown.
So the 36, so I figured that it would, somebody would cash out maybe in 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
depending. So I took about what the principal pay down was and just multiplied that by each term, 36 or 48, and that was the amount that the principal would be being paid down.
What is the monthly breakdown of like today's principal?
So
Do you have
the monthly pay, not exactly. I basically looked at a mortgage calculator and estimated from when we bought it, because I didn't have a copy of his mortgage statement, just the reinstatement letter.
Got it. So let's do 38,340 divided by 36. That's roughly $1,000 in principal pay down we're expecting every month.
Yes. And it's probably a little bit higher than that.
That's a good deal. What's the
it's a
interest
VA
rate?
2.625 VA loan.
Oh my goodness, we are never getting rid of this.
So
Ever.
I was just gonna say something. Although, yeah, the longer it goes, the better for us. We're not necessarily restricting people. We're giving them the pathway to be successful with our rent-to-own program, especially with a subject to, and getting them connected with credit enhancement, structuring their down payment plan. And then there are some out there, and chances are, if we get a buyer for this property, they're going to be on it. It seems like, because they have to replace that septic. So they're probably going to contact us in 18 to 24 months and say, all right, I'm ready to get my own loan. Which is something that we've been surprised in the past from.
Sure.
But
As you
what?
can-
I was just real quick. I was just going to throw out another idea for people to kind of consider here, is being that Judy doesn't have a term length here, and you find a great buyer for the home, being that the interest rate is so low, This is where you have the ability on Judy's side to say, hey, you know what? You guys have been in the house for a couple of years. Would you guys like to avoid a bank forever and go directly do owner financing with Judy, right? And there's a very good chance that Judy's going to be able to provide an interest rate that is way lower than what the banks can do right now. And then she can stay in this deal for as long as she wants.
And there's so many options because the interest rate is so low.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as you can see, like I usually work with the sellers. Nick works with the buyers. Well, he wants to protect our buyers, and that's why I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, awesome. So looking at this deal, so I want you guys to see this: $1,000 a month in principal pay down. I mean, that's amazing to be able to step into a 2.65% interest rate. You can't do that in any other structure except for doing these sub twos or owner financing. So if you look at our total projected profits, it's roughly $74,000 in 36 months, and $91,000 in 48 months, and will be over six figures if it goes 60 months. So huge opportunity and amazing deal. Very much by putting in the hard work, Judy, getting this thing wrapped up. Adam, yeah, let's go ahead and open up for questions for the last 5 to 7 minutes.
There was a couple really good questions in the chat. I wanted to see if you could go through.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's start from the top. Okay, oh, where are we? Which really good questions? It looks like people just, all right, where does the principal pay down come from? So Judy has taken on a 2.65% interest rate on the mortgage. The mortgage is broken down into typically 4 pieces, right? And the mortgage payment every month. There's gonna be principal, there's gonna be interest, there's gonna be taxes and insurance if they're escrow. The principal is roughly $1,000 a month, that every time that Judy makes a mortgage payment, $1,000 comes off the principal balance. So if we multiply by that 1,000, right? Because that's going to increase as the mortgage amortizes. But if we just took it at $1,000, if we multiplied that by 36 months, he's going to have about $38,000 coming off of principal during that time frame. Hopefully that makes sense. What else we got? For credit enhancement, Arnard is asking this: is there a company you guys use?
There is. It's My Credit Team, mycreditteam.com.
Awesome.
We get all of our buyers screened before we accept them. It's a requirement of our rent-to-own program that we get their screening back before we make a decision. And then one of the conditions of all of our contracts is they stay enrolled with My Credit Team for as long as it takes them to be able to get their own loan at the end.
Got it. Awesome. Nick, somebody mentioned that it seems expensive for the year. I'm guessing they're saying purchase price. Could you just walk through again how you guys arrived at that purchase price?
Sure. So we're looking at comps, and Judy, you can do this live with me if you don't mind helping me. So, because you know it better than I do, just because I have a few properties in my head. The as far as comparable homes, we look at first comparable homes that have sold in the area that are similar in just bedrooms, baths, and square footage, not, well, this one has a finished basement versus this one doesn't, or this one has stainless steel appliances, which this one has an outdated kitchen. Like, we don't get that in the weeds, just bedrooms, baths, and square footage. Where did those comps come out to?
So basically, I actually worked with a realtor on this, and I had done some of my homework, and then I asked him to run some comps, and he came back with me with that, and we had a range. Nick, I want to say we were between like 4 and like 435, and then because of the septic, we decided to go down and basically, in your words, pop this thing. So just basically get it done going into winter. And I'm not sure who said they thought it was expensive for the area. That's actually pretty inexpensive for the area.
It's actually a very good price. So
yeah,
we want to make sure, and that does ring a bell that I said that. What we want to, this is a little bit different than our regular rent-to-own deals with a property that's 100% turnkey, and you can just walk in, and the buyer can live there and just go about their life. This is a little different. So we're looking for a little bit of a unique buyer. Usually a lot of our buyers happen to be people that are in the trades or construction or are familiar with how to fix up properties. So we wanted to make the price aggressive enough for one of those people to come in and be able to do the repairs and walk into equity. If this home didn't need, with those comps that you just threw out, Judy, like low 400s, 400 or 410, 415, if this house didn't need a new septic, we might go up as high as 230, 429.9, 439.9, or even 449.9. But we have to get a little bit more aggressive here to be able to find a buyer who's willing to take it on as is and make those improvements and be able to walk into equity.
And that's how we advertised it too, as a handyman special.
Love it. No, I just wanted to walk through that. So that way it wasn't like a guess, right? You guys are methodically going through the pricing plan.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jerome.
And Judy's going to be reducing to $1,650 to attract a buyer with a good down
I'm on the
payment.
monthly payer. We know, Nick.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jerome.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm pretty new. I not too long signed up with you guys. Happy to be on my first session here. Just a quick question to the team here and possibly Judy. With the figures that I looked at just now that you had on screen, I assume I think I recall seeing $18,000 that had to be taken out from the down payment to repay the amount outstanding in arrears. And then the question that I do have is that, do you have to take into consideration your expenditure associated with maintaining this property? More particularly, I mean, of course, you're getting a buyer that is going to be checked for credit and everything, and they're going to go through that, and they're going to sign up with you. But you do have some expenses, I assume, you would have to incur on a monthly basis or quarterly basis. Do you take that into consideration when you're working out your profitability on the deal?
Nick, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Jerome, and thank you for taking time out of your busy day on the beach there with the palm trees in the background.
You did that too on the workshop I saw him on.
To tune in, I appreciate you taking the time out. All part of our agreement is we're turning over all responsibility from maintenance, repair, and upkeep to the tenant buyer that we sell the house to. So they're responsible for all of that upkeep. They're able to, in this particular case, they're able to come into the property, make that small repair for the septic, and then be able to capture the appreciation of the market. They're locking their price here, and the market's continuing to appreciate. So they're locking that in, and they're also taking over all responsibility for maintenance, repair, and upkeep over the course of the term. So all those other expenses over the course of the deal, that's on them, not us, or not Judy.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, Jerome, I know you're in our QLS home study course. That's mod 9. Nick will walk through the entire thing. If you don't have our quantum leap system, I want to make sure you guys get access to it. Pete, if you could just type that in the chat, that's an amazing place to start. A lot of the questions you guys are hitting on, which we love to answer, more than happy to, especially as we walk through these deals. They'll all be covered in those. So that way it will create a really, you'll be able to suck up all the knowledge when it comes to our exact ways in order we buy and sell real estate through our creative financing methods, including sub-2, including rent to own. I really encourage you guys to go through. It's packed. 11 module has all of our agreements in it. So we gave you 3 different things to look at tonight. If you haven't jumped in the QLS, go grab our QLS bundle. If you haven't already signed up for our Kickstart event, we'll make sure that by going through the bundle too, that you'll also get access to the Kickstart event. Be there. Let's help you set up the plan of a 2024. That's absolutely amazing. And those of you that want to work with us, just like Judy, want to do real estate deals with us in your area, let's set you up an advisement call. There's 3 different ways in order for you to get involved tonight. Let's make sure that we're able to kind of work with you from where you're at, because we got some amazing people in this community right now. Judy, final thought on this deal. I gotta ask, like, know what you know now. Is there anything you would do differently?
So one thing that I almost didn't do was the follow-up, just making an assumption that it was off the market and under contract. And had I done that, we wouldn't be having this conversation today. So never make the assumption, always follow through and follow up with your sellers. You might think you know what happened by watching like the listing sheets and things like that. So that was just something that definitely, and I don't know if I would have been able to do anything different, because like Steve said, his timeline wasn't my timeline. We just had to kind of wait it out and just stay in touch, and just keep putting it in the tickler system for follow-up.
Awesome. Well, awesome job, Judy. We're rolling up to the end of the clock here. Everybody have an awesome, fantastic rest of your night. Thank you so much. Amazing deal. Thank you guys for all coming out. All the associates, we'll see you on the associate mastermind. Everybody else, have the rest of your night. Have an amazing night. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye, y'all.
See you guys.